UFC 274, Oliveira versus Gaethje. Now, it's going to be a banger of a fight. The main event, 5 rounds of action at lightweight. Gaethje, one of the most exciting fighters to ever grace the UFC lightweight octagon, because the main gets a performance bonus, a fight of the night bonus, pretty much every single time he goes out there. And then Oliveira, I don't really even remember the last time this man has gone to a decision. When was the last time? Tony Ferguson. And Tony is like the one guy that just can survive. And then Jeremy Stephens. Other than that, every other fight, win or loss, has been a finish in all of those fights. That is absolutely insane. Gaethje's kind of the same way, where the only fight he has that's a decision is Michael Chandler, and then everything other than that is a finish. So I am, of course, am expecting this fight to not be, I'm just kidding, it's going to be a finish. Oliveira by submission or knockout, or Gaethje by knockout. It's going to be a banger of a fight there, but that's not the only banger. We got Namajunas versus Esparza in the co-main event. 5 rounds of action in the rematch, as Namajunas got submitted in their first encounter for the inaugural UFC Women's Strawweight Championship. So that should be a good co-main event right there. We also have Chandler versus Ferguson, 2 guys that have both lost to both Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira. So we kind of have both the Gaethje and Oliveira's kids fighting in the class down below, in Ferguson versus Chandler right there. But they're both very elite fighters as well. But they're kind of a little bit older for the lightweight division, and they're kind of going down in their UFC career trajectory at the moment. Mauricio Shogun Rua, Ovince and Preux at light heavyweight. That's a veteran versus veteran matchup. Champion versus title contender. We got Donald Cerrone, who's beaten so many champions, versus the veteran Joe Lauzon. We got a banger. Now, that's the main card. We have a lot of veterans fighting each other, a lot of OGs on that main card that have been champions a long time ago, fought for the belt, things like that. But when you go into the prelims, none of these guys have really fought for the belt or anything, but they're all very, very solid. They all put on a show. Khaos Williams goes out there every time, and he puts on a show. He makes every single fight exciting. And then Randy Brown as well. Finish or be finished in a lot of his fights. But I don't know if he's going to finish Khaos Williams there, but it is a good fight in the welterweight division. Norma, Dumont, Macy, Chiasson, decent fight. Royval versus Schnell, amazing fight. Ivanov versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima, that should be a banger. The ageless wonder Francisco Trinaldo versus Danny Roberts, that should be good as well. Melissa Gatto, Tracy Cortez, grappler, striker type of girl versus just a straight up wrestler. Kleydson Rodrigues and CJ Vergara, Lupita Godinez and Ariane Carnelossi, who kind of looks like a man, I'm going to be honest with you. Journey Newson, and then Fernie Garcia, a newcomer to the UFC octagon. And then we got Andre Fialho versus Cameron VanCamp. That one literally just got announced yesterday, I believe. So it should be a solid card. I'm expecting a good amount of finishes. I mean, there's going to be a few fights on here that I picked to be decisions, but I will not be surprised if they are finishes. There's so many fights here that can totally be finishes. So it should be a really good fight card. 15 fights. I can't wait. Well, we go on to the first fight here in the UFC welterweight division. Andre Fialho and Cameron VanCamp in the welterweight division. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, as soon as I saw this fight announced yesterday on April 30th, I was like, this is a short notice fight. Cameron VanCamp did not have a fight scheduled. Andre Fialho did not have a fight scheduled. So why did they even make the fight in the first place? I really have no idea, but it should be a good fight. Andre Fialho is much more powerful. He's got the much better striking, going out there beating Stefan Sekulic by knockout, beating Miguel Baeza by knockout, James Vick by knockout, Sang Hoon Yu by knockout, Lincoln Puig by knockout, only losing to Chris Curtis, Chidi Njokuani, and Antonio Dos Santos Jr. 2 of those guys being UFC fighters. Also be AJ Matthews by split decision back there. So he's got a lot of very solid wins on his record. He's very powerful. Literally all of his last 5 wins have come by knockout. The last time he's gone to a decision and won the fight was way back in 2018. So if he's going to win this fight against Cameron VanCamp, it's probably going to be a knockout. But Cameron VanCamp is a pretty hard guy to knock out, as the last time he has been knocked out was way back in 2015 against Tom Shawaf, mainly going out there just trying to make it a dirty, ugly type of fight and latch on a submission. He's not going to go out there and outstrike Andre Fialho or anything like that. He needs the fight to hit the mat, and he needs to submit Andre Fialho. But I'm going to be honest, Andre Fialho should pretty obviously win this fight. He's a much better striker. He's got the better wrestling. His takedown defense is there. Yes, he's going to be smaller in terms of height, possibly in terms of reach as well. I'm just not too sure where Cameron VanCamp is at. But Andre Fialho just fought Miguel Baeza, who's a better wrestler, better grappler than Cameron VanCamp, and he knocked him out easily in that fight. I'm going to go Andre Fialho by knockout in the first or second round. Really solid fight in the welterweight division. Journey Newson and Fernie Garcia in the bantamweight division. Now, it should be interesting. I mean, Fernie is going to be a little bit taller. He's going to be a little bit lengthier, but it's very even. I mean, Journey Newson and Fernie Garcia, I would say they don't have like super similar styles, but there are parts of their games that are very similar. Now, for Journey Newson, he's on a little bit of a losing streak, losing the decision to Ricardo Ramos, losing to Randy Costa by knockout. He needs a win here. He really does need a win to stay inside of the UFC octagon, because he's not really doing too good recently. Now, he does have a lot of really solid wins on the regional scene, a lot of finishes, 3 knockouts, 3 submissions, and then 3 decision wins. But in this fight, against Fernie Garcia, it's going to be hard to finish a guy like Fernie Garcia, whose only loss was a very controversial split decision at Cody Freeman. So I'm actually going to expect this fight to go to a decision. A lot of the fights for Fernie Garcia are decision wins that he's had on his record, except for the last fight against Joshua Williams, where nobody was really expecting him to go out there and knock out Joshua Williams in that fight. I don't think there's going to be a knockout here, even though Journey Newson is coming off a knockout loss and Fernie Garcia is coming off a knockout win. I still don't think it's going to be a knockout. I do believe Fernie is going to be the better striker, just ever so slightly in terms of the counter-punching, in terms of the height, in terms of the reach. I do believe Fernie Garcia will have the advantage in those aspects of this fight, but there is the wrestling and grappling, which is going to be very even. Journey Newson isn't necessarily going to have the advantage, but there will be moments where he might get close to a takedown, maybe land a little bit of ground and pound or things like that, but Fernie's also very good in the wrestling and grappling as well. So I think that grappling and wrestling game is kind of going to cancel each other out a little bit, and it'll be a 3-round striking fight where Fernie Garcia, just being the better striker, the better counterpuncher, the taller, the lengthier guy, will kind of edge out the decision, landing more volume, landing the more powerful shots, and winning that fight by a decision right there. Lupita Godinez and Ariane Carnelossi in the women's strawweight division, 28 and a half years old and 29 and a half years old. Same height and pretty much the exact same reach right there, but Ariane Carnelossi, how did she lose her fight against Angela Hill? She got pressured, she got volumed, and that was the main way she lost that fight. Though she was actually about to lose fights with Naliang and Estela Nunes, but she was lucky enough to be able to land some big shots on the feet, get the fight to the ground, and land the submission, and then land the TKO. Against Lupita Godinez, it's not going to be the case. She's not going to land those big overhand rights that she's throwing on the feet. And she's not going to out-wrestle. She's not going to out-grapple Lupita Godinez in the fight. Lupita is a much better striker here, in my opinion. And she's the better grappler, and she is the better wrestler. I'm going to be honest, wherever this fight goes, Lupita Godinez is going to have the advantage. Maybe except for strength, but in terms of volume on the feet with the striking, Lupita definitely is going to have the advantage there. She's going to put on the pressure, come forward on Ariane Carnelossi, and then maybe mix in a few takedowns as well. There's possibility Ariane can just start throwing bombs, connect on Lupita, knock her out. There's a possibility the fight just gets on the ground and she just pulls on an arm triangle, does what Jessica Andrade does, and just squeeze, using all the strength that she does have, and get a finish like that. But the chances of that happening are very unlikely. I think Lupita just out-volumes her on the feet, mixes in the takedowns, and wins this fight by a unanimous decision. Kleydson Rodrigues and CJ Vergara in the flyweight division. Now, two things are going to happen here. Either Kleydson Rodrigues is going to win the fight by a decision, coming forward, landing more volume, landing the harder shot, not necessarily the harder shots, but landing more volume, and then mixing in the clinch to the takedown attempts as well. He is going to be the better wrestler. He's going to be the better grappler. He's got the better judo, in my opinion, and he's got the more speed and the more volume on the feet. The only way that CJ Vergara is going to beat Kleydson is to land a big shot, because if the fight goes to the judges' scorecards, Kleidson's going to be landing more volume, he's going to land the takedowns, the wrestling, the grappling, all that type of stuff. The only real way CJ Vergara is going to win, kind of like a lot of his fights, is to just start throwing bombs and knock out Kleydson Rodrigues. He wasn't really able to do that with Ode Osbourne, as Ode was a lot taller, was a lot lengthier, so it was hard for CJ Vergara to close that distance. And when he did close that distance to land the big shots, he got taken down. So I can see Kleydson keeping it pretty even on the feet, just outlanding him in terms of volume, mixing in those takedowns and winning a decision here. I do not expect to finish unless CJ Vergara pulls off that crazy upset. So I get Kleydson Rodrigues outstriking him at range, landing more volume, and then mixing in the takedowns for a decision win. Tracy Cortez and Melissa Gatto in the flyweight division. Now, Tracy, what do you want me to say? You know how she's going to win the fight. It's go out there, take down Melissa Gatto, and control her on the ground for like, I don't know, 15 minutes. That's the whole entire fight. That is how Tracy Cortez is going to win this fight. She's got the same height. She's a little bit less in terms of reach than Melissa Gatto. Melissa does have the better kicking game. She's got the better boxing. She's lengthier than Tracy Cortez. She's more powerful than Tracy Cortez. She's got the better jiu-jitsu than Tracy Cortez. So this is not a lock fight whatsoever. It's either, like kind of what the Tapology people are saying, is either going to be Cortez by a dominant decision, taking down Melissa Gatto and controlling her there for 3 straight rounds, or Melissa getting dominated for 2 rounds and then finally getting the fight on the feet and knocking out Tracy Cortez, or pulling off a triangle choke on the bottom or something like that. It's a very weird fight because there's so many advantages going for Melissa Gatto, but if Cortez is able to land that takedown, all of those advantages go out the window immediately. So it's a weird fight. I'm not confident on either girl here because Tracy could dominate for 14 full minutes and Melissa can pull up a triangle choke submission. You never really know with this type of fight. So it's a very weird one. I'm going to go Tracy Cortez to win the fight by a unanimous decision. Francisco Trinaldo versus Danny Roberts in the welterweight division. Now, Francisco, look at the age, 43 years old. Danny Roberts, look at the age, 35 years old. So they're both kind of on the later stages of their UFC careers. Danny Roberts is going to be a lot taller. He's going to be a lot lengthier. That is going to give him a solid 4-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. I don't care, Francisco. It does not matter. The man has fought so many guys taller, so many guys lengthier than him in his past couple of fights. Look at the last one with Dwight Grant right there. Dwight is a very tall, very lengthy guy. He had an even longer reach and an even longer height right there. But Francisco was still able to go out there, put on the pressure on Dwight Grant, land the bigger shots, and mix in the takedowns as well. That's what I see happening here with Danny Roberts. Yes, maybe Danny is going to land a little bit more volume on the feet. I still think Francisco is going to land those harder shots, and he's going to land the takedowns. Danny Roberts' takedown defense really is not the best. He lost that fight with Ramazan Emeev. I don't know what those judges were thinking, but Francisco should definitely go out there, take down Danny Roberts, and just control him for 3 rounds, keep it very even on the feet, and out-edge him with a 29-28 decision. Blagoy Ivanov and Marcos Rogerio de Lima in the heavyweight division. Surprisingly, you would not really think this, like at first glance, looking at Blagoy and looking at Marcos Rogerio de Lima, but Marcos is about a year and a half older than Blagoy Ivanov. It's very, very interesting. He's got a little bit more experience, but that's not going to really matter here. He is taller, he is lengthier than Blagoy Ivanov as well, but Blagoy's chin is absolutely insane. That's the main thing a lot of people have when they're talking about Blagoy Ivanov, is the man's chin. He's coming off split decision losses with Derek Lewis and Augusto Sakai, beating top 5 UFC heavyweight Tai Tuivasa by unanimous decision. They lost to Junior Dos Santos, Alexander Volkov. That is a full top 10 lineup right there. Junior, Lewis, Sakai, and Volkov. Now he's fighting an unranked Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Every time this man fights an unranked type of guy, he goes out there and either knocks him out or he just kind of tip-taps with them, eats their big shots, and just lands more volume to a decision win. That's kind of what I'm expecting to happen here. I can see a few takedowns every now and then. I mean, neither guy's really the best wrestler or the best grappler, but I would say there's a possibility Blagoy could mix in a takedown or two to this fight as well. But I think Marcos is going to land those bigger shots early on in the fight. His cardio is going to slowly decline, and then Blagoy is going to come back with that iron chin, eat those shots in the first round, come back and land more volume and more pressure in the second and third round, and edge both of those rounds out to a 29-28 decision. Brandon Royval and Matt Schnell in the flyweight division. It's going to be a good fight. I mean, there is a little height advantage, a little reach advantage for Brandon Royval, and there's the fact that Matt Schnell is moving from the bantamweight division down to the UFC flyweight division. He barely beat Tyson Nam. That's horrible. That is absolutely god-awful to barely beat Tyson M. Now you're fighting Brandon Royval after losing to Pantoja by knockout and Rogerio Bontorin by unanimous decision. Yeah, and he beat Luis Smolka and then Jordan Espinosa. Two guys that could realistically be cut from the UFC. I believe Jordan Espinosa has already been cut. But, yeah, this is a pretty easy prediction in my opinion. Royval is pretty good on the feet as well, but he's mainly a grappler, mainly a submission type of guy, and things like that. But I think this fight on the feet is going to be very even. I think Brandon is going to be landing the more flashy shots on the feet. Matt Schnell is going to be landing a little bit more shots in terms of volume. But as soon as this fight hits the mat, yes, Matt Schnell is very legit on the ground. He's got good submission wins of his own, submitting Luis Smolka, Jordan Espinosa, Clayton Mai, Jonathan Martial was an illegal knee there. But he submitted a lot of guys in his career so far. But is he going to submit Brandon Royval? No, he's not. Brandon, there's going to be one moment where the fight hits the ground and he's going to submit him. He submitted Kai Kara France, Tim Elliott, Nate Williams, Demetrius Wilson right there. He submitted so many amazing guys on the ground. The only guys that are able to beat him, the pretty much champion Brandon Moreno, Alexandre Pantoja, who kind of just is an absolute beast everywhere, just all around well-rounded guy who absolutely destroyed Matt Schnell in their fight. Then Casey Kenny, a very good wrestler right there. So I think Matt Schnell's only way to win is to defend the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, land more shots, land the harder shots, and win a decision. But the fight will eventually hit the ground, and Royval will submit Matt Schnell in the second round or in the first round. I really don't know. But Brandon Royval by submission in the first or second rounds. Macy Chiasson and Norma Dumont in the featherweight division. Now, Macy Chiasson, very tall, very lengthy, but she's not really elite. I mean, she lost to Lena Landsberg, an unranked UFC bantamweight fighter. Then she beat Shayna Young, one of the god-awful worst bantamweight fighters in the UFC. Barely beat Gina Mazzani and was getting dominated in the first round. Then Marion Reneau, a girl that just retired and is absolute garbage. Sarah Moras, a girl that is out of the UFC and is absolute garbage. And then she lost to Raquel Pena. Raquel's a very solid opponent, though. But yeah, still. I mean, the girls that she's beating are nowhere near the competition level of a Raquel Pennington, of a Norma Dumont. She beat Gina Mazzani before that. Pannie Kianzad, that was a good win. I'm going to be honest. Pannie Kianzad was a very, very good win getting that submission. But I guarantee you, they rematch that fight. Pannie Kianzad wins that fight all day. Now, a fight with Norma Dumont wins the fight all day. She's the much better striker, going out there absolutely destroying Ashley Evans Smith on the feet, beating Felicia Spencer in the striking as well, defending the takedowns, even landing some takedowns on Aspen Ladd. Actually, I don't think she landed any takedowns on Aspen Ladd, but her wrestling and grappling is legit as well, and she absolutely destroyed Aspen Ladd in the striking. Now, for this fight, Macy's main way of winning is just a kicking game. Keep the fight at range, kick. That's really all she has to do to win this fight, but if she's going to be landing all those kicks, eventually Norma's going to time. After she throws that kick, she's going to wait for it to come back, and then she's going to come forward, get inside the pocket, and land her boxing combinations, or even land a takedown or two. She's a better wrestler. She's the better grappler. She's the better boxer. Macy might be the better kickboxer, but it's not going to matter when Norma is closing the distance as effortlessly as she will be doing in this fight. I get Norma Dumont closing that distance, landing the harder shots, landing more shots, and mixing in the takedowns to a unanimous decision. Randy Brown and Khaos Williams in the welterweight division. Now, Khaos Williams, he's got a very, very big shot of going out there and knocking out Randy Brown. Because Randy Brown, if you look at the fights that he's losing, it's mainly going to be by knockout. He got knocked out by the great Vicente Luque in the second round with only 4 seconds left. Before that, got knocked out by Nico Price. Before that, yeah, he lost a decision to Bilal Muhammad, but again, it is Bilal Muhammad. He's not going to go out there and finish anyone. And then he got one more fight with Mike Graves right there that he did lose by a submission, but most of his losses are coming by knockout. Nico Price did it, Vicente Luque did it, but if it's not happening and then Randy Brown is getting knocked out, if he does not get knocked out, he goes out there and he makes his grappling and wrestling work for him. He goes out there, lands his submission on Warley Alves, submits Alex Oliveira with one hand, doesn't even have this hand on here to actually secure that submission. His grappling is going to be such an advantage here against Khaos Williams, which is what makes it such an interesting fight, because Khaos could go out there and starch Randy Brown in the first round easily right here. And Randy Brown could go out there, get absolutely destroyed on the feet. He could get knocked down. Khaos, the landing ground and pound. And Randy Brown can pull up a triangle choke submission. Could land some elbows from bottom and knock out Khaos Williams. It is such an unpredictable fight here with Khaos Williams and Randy Brown that I almost don't even want to make a prediction because of how unpredictable the fight is going to become. But Randy's taller, he's lengthier. I think on the feet, yes, Khaos is going to be landing the harder shots, but Randy's going to land a little bit more volume, and the wrestling and grappling goes to Randy Brown as well. He's really good in the clinch with the knees and with the elbows as well. So I'm going to leave Randy Brown with volume. Yes, Khaos is going to every now and then throw some big right and crack Randy Brown on the chin, but I assume Randy's going to land 5, 6, 7 more strikes per round than Khaos Williams right here. I think it'll be a striking fight mainly with a few takedowns mixed in, a little bit of clinching mixed in from Randy Brown as well, but I think Randy Brown's going to get a decision here. It's a hard thing to go out there and finish a guy like Khaos Williams because he is a very hard guy to finish, never been finished in his professional or his amateur MMA career. So I'm gonna go for Randy Brown by decision right there. Really good fight, a really good fight in the welterweight division. Donald Cerrone and Joe Lauzon in the lightweight division. Now, two guys very old, 37, almost 38 years old, literally in like 2 weeks. And then Donald Cerrone, who just turned 39 years old a month, 1 week, and 1 day ago. He's going to be a little bit taller. He's going to be a little bit lengthier than Joe Lauzon. He's going to be the better striker than Joe Lauzon. He's got more volume than Joe Lauzon. Joe Lauzon got the he's more gritty. That's kind of the only thing going for Joe Lauzon, is that he's a much more gritty opponent than Donald Cerrone is, and he's got wrestling and grappling to fall back on as well. Coming off a TKO win over Jonathan Pierce right there. That was about 2 years and 5 months ago. Donald Cerrone's on a crazy losing streak. Joe Lauzon was on a little losing streak right there as well, but he did beat Jonathan Pierce after that. So it's going to be a very weird one. I do expect the fight to go to a decision because I kind of think that it's going to be the last fight for Joe Lauzon. He's probably going to retire after this one. Maybe Donald Cerrone, if he wins, he might actually retire as well. It might be a retirement fight for both guys. I really have no idea, but I don't think it's going to be a decision. Typically, when you see retirement fights like this, most of the time, I'm not going to say all the time because we saw Miesha Tate go out there and submit Marion Reneau, but most of the time, they kind of go out there and they make it an even striking fight, back and forth. They both have their moments in the fight, and it's a decision. But I think Donald is the more well-rounded opponent. He's got the better striking. He's taller. He's lengthier. He's got more experience. He's beaten the better competition. He's been fighting recently. I think Donald Cerrone definitely wins, but I don't think he's going to finish Joe Lauzon because it is probably going to be his last fight. So I'm going to go Donald Cerrone by a decision right there. Ovince St. Preux, or the Von Flue choke St. Preux versus Mauricio Shogun Hua 2 in the light heavyweight division. The reason I call him the Von Flue choke Preux is because this man has the most Von Flue chokes in history. I mean, I don't know how he does it, and I don't know why his opponents just keep on going for the guillotine on him, but he just keeps on getting that Von Flue. He did that against Michael Oleksiejczuk, he did it against Yushin Okami, and he did it against Marcos Rogerio de Lima, who's also fighting on this card. He's beaten some really solid guy. Corey Anderson by a third round knockout. Michael Oleksiejczuk, Alonzo Menefield right there. He's beating Marcos Rogerio de Lima, Mauricio Shogun Hua right there, and then so many other guys. Nikita Krylov as well, another Von Flue choke submission. I mean, it is absolutely insane. Only losing to Gegard Mousasi, the Bellator champion, Ryan Bader, the Bellator champion, Glover Teixeira, the UFC champion, John Jones, the UFC champion, Volkan Ozdemir, UFC title challenger, Jimmy Manuwa, former top 10 light heavyweight, Alir Latifi, former ranked heavyweight, Dominic Reyes, top 10 light heavyweight, Nikita Krylov, ranked light heavyweight, and then Ben Rothwell in a pretty controversial one. Landed a few more shots, he probably could have won that fight. Then Jamal Hill, ranked UFC light heavyweight, then Tanner Boser. But you can see the gist. A lot of the guys he's losing to are super legit guys, and we saw what happened last time with Hua and Ovince St. Preux. And Ovince St. Preux absolutely starched him. Knocked him out in the first round fairly easily. But for this fight right here, Ovince is going to be taller. He's going to be lengthier. He's got a little bit more volume on the feet as well. And he's going to land the harder shots. Yes, Mauricio Hua could have the wrestling and grappling to fall back. And that's what he needs to do in the fight, is take the fight down and just ground and pound for the win. Look for a submission. Look for something like that. Just don't go for a guillotine or anything like that. Yeah, that's the only thing you got to worry about. Don't go for a guillotine on Ovince St. Preux. That's all I really gotta say there. But yeah, Mauricio needs to go out there with a wrestling and grappling heavy game plan, which I think he will go out there with. But I still think the chin of Mauricio Shogun Rua really is not the best recently. He's been knocked out in his last 2 losses, and if you look before that, got knocked out by Ovince Preux, Dan Henderson, and that was about it. Since 2014, all 4 of his losses have been knockout wins, and the only decision, an aging Antonio Rogerio Nogueira right there, and then Tyson Pedro that was kind of coming off those injuries as well, then John Volante and things like that. But it should be an interesting fight. 2 veterans going at it. I think Ovince Preux is just he's not that much younger. He's only a year younger than Mauricio Shogun Rua, but he's still a lot faster than Mauricio. He's taller, he's lengthier. I'm going to go another knockout win for Ovince Preux there in the UFC light heavyweight division. Michael Chandler and Tony Ferguson in the lightweight division. Now a very, very banger of a fight here. They're both coming off a lot of losses. Ferguson losing to Gaethje, after that losing to Beneil Dariush and Charles Oliveira. Michael Chandler losing to, guess what, Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje. Both guys recently losing to Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje. The only guy that Michael Chandler has not lost to, that Tony Ferguson has lost to, has been Beneil Dariush. But they're both kind of edging out their careers, 36 years old and 38 years old. Ferguson is going to be 3 inches taller and have a crazy reach advantage. He's going to have the jiu-jitsu advantage as well, but Chandler's submission defense is very, very legit in my opinion. He's the more powerful guy. He's got the better wrestling than Tony Ferguson. There's so many outcomes for this fight to happen. Either Michael Chandler can go out there, make it a banger of a fight on the feet, just land the bigger shots on the feet. Tony just getting rocked every now and then, surviving, coming forward, landing some shots of his own, looking for some submission attempts. That could be one outcome to the fight. The other could be Michael Chandler putting on the Beneil Dariush effect and going out there, taking down Ferguson and just holding him there and landing a little bit of ground upon every now and then for a decision. But either way, I think the fight does go to a decision. Ferguson's last 2 fights, decision loss to Charles Oliveira and a decision loss to Beneil Dariush. He did get knocked out by Gaethje, but it was in the 5th and final round. Michael Chandler, he can go out there and knock you out. He's knocked out pretty much all of the opponents that he's beaten. But I think Ferguson's the one guy that will survive here. I don't think he's going to win. I think Chandler pretty much easily wins this one. But I don't think it's going to be a finish. I got Michael Chandler winning by a decision right there. Rose Namajunas and Carla Esparza 2 in the UFC light heavy. I'm just kidding. The UFC women's strawweight division. 34 years old. And surprisingly, I mean, she's still in her prime at 29 years old. She's 4 inches taller and is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, only recently losing to Jessica Andrade in a very, very fluke loss right there. By second round slam TKO. She beat Andrade by split decision, Weili Zhang by knockout, and then Weili Zhang by a split decision. She also beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk twice, and Michelle Waterson did lose to Carolina Kowalkiewicz, which, you know, was not a good loss at all right there, but she's beaten Angela Hill, Tisha Torres, Paige Van Zandt, a lot of other solid girls like Joanne Calderwood and Randa Marcos. Her only losses come into pretty legit girls like Carla Esparza and then Andrade as well. But for this fight, that last fight that she lost by 3rd round submission, that was 8 years ago. That was such a long time ago. This is a completely different fight. It's not even really a rematch in my opinion because of how much both fighters have improved in both aspects of their game. Carla in their first fight was just straight up a wrestler and grappler. She still kind of is, but her striking has gotten a lot better. Namajunas at that time was mainly just a jiu-jitsu girl looking for that submission. Now she's a much better striking. She's got really good movement on the feet. And her wrestling is also very legit. But the 83% going Namajunas. I'm surprised that a lot of people are going Namajunas, but it should be a good fight. Yes, we can see Esparza go out there, land a lot of takedowns, and grind out a decision on Rose Namajunas, but I don't think it's going to happen. Namajunas was shown that she's got really good wrestling of her own, landing some takedowns on Weili Zhang in that last fight. So I do think when this fight against Carla Esparza, I do think that Rose Namajunas is going to go out there She's going to land the harder shots in the feet. She's going to defend most of the takedowns of Carla Esparza. Yes, Esparza is going to land a few takedowns every now and then. She'll win 1 round, maybe even 2 rounds with that wrestling. But for the most part, she'll defend a lot of the takedowns from Carla Esparza and maybe even use a submission attempts on bottom to get back up on the feet. And she'll outstrike Carla Esparza on the feet as well. I got Rose Namajunas winning that fight by a unanimous decision. I would not be surprised if it's a split decision either. Coming off the split decision wins over Wei Li Zhang and Jessica Andrade. But I got Namajunas by a decision. Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje in the UFC lightweight division. Charles Oliveira, one of the greatest I'm going to be honest, the greatest grappler, jiu-jitsu practitioner in UFC history, without a doubt. The man has so many dang submission wins on his record. I can't even go through all of them because there is just so many of them. I mean, he just submitted Dustin Poirier. He knocked out Michael Chandler, dominated Ferguson, submitted Kevin Lee, knocked out Jerry Gordon and Nick Lenz. He's beaten so many great fighters in his career. He's been finished a lot. I mean, Paul Felder ground and pound TKO'd him. Pettis guillotined him. Ricardo Lamas guillotined him. Max Holloway TKO them, I guess you can say right there. So he's lost a lot of those fights, but that was a long time ago. Now, he's the champion. He's on a crazy 8 or 9 fight win streak, and he's fighting Gaethje, one of the most powerful, electric, highlight reel finishers in this UFC lightweight division. That's why they call him the highlight, but his only way of winning is by knockout. There's no way he's going to win how he did against Michael Chandler and get a decision right there. He needs to go out there and strike how he did against Ferguson, how he did against Donald Cerrone, and just play very, very technical on the feet and explode with some big combinations every now and then. Defend the takedowns. That's really the only thing, is to defend the takedowns in this fight. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, man. We've seen him get dominated by Khabib Nurmagomedov, get submitted in the second round right there. Yes, Oliveira is no Khabib Nurmagomedov in terms of the wrestling game, but jiu-jitsu-wise, Oliveira is definitely there with Khabib Nurmagomedov, and I do think even if Oliveira does not get a takedown, he can do exactly what he did against Dustin Poirier. Get the fight to the clinch, get that body lock, and just get a hook in, and just jump up to the back. Get a rear naked. There's so many outcomes to the fight. I can see Oliveira knocking out Gaethje as well. Gaethje is not prone to getting knocked out either. I mean, he's been submitted in the Khabib Nurmagomedov fight, but he got knocked out by Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier. Charles Oliveira is also a very good striker. So I'm not saying Oliveira's only path to victory is a submission. That is the main path to victory, because striking for that long with Justin Gaethje could lead to you getting knocked out, but he could use that to his advantage. He could, honestly, I'm going to be honest, this is a little bit of a weird recommendation for Charles Oliveira, but he could kind of fake like he's hurt a little bit just to wait for Gaethje to come in and he can land a takedown or something like that. I'm going to be honest, that could be a game plan from Oliveira, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. But still, Oliveira's a better grappler. He's a better Muay Thai type of guy. He's a lot lengthier. He's got 4 inches in reach right there, so it's going to force Gaethje to come in and making it easier for Oliveira to land the takedowns. He's got the better kicking game. Yes, Gaethje has more power. He's got more finishing ability in terms of the hands, but still, Oliveira is the more well-rounded fighter. He's going to get the fight to the ground at one point or another. Oliveira by submission on Gaethje, and then he'll fight Islam Makhachev. And originally, I had Islam winning, but I'm going to switch it, man. I'm going to go Oliveira to win that fight against Islam Makhachev by a decision. But yeah, this should be a good fight. Oliveira, I do have him winning that fight against Justin Gaethje by a submission in the second or third rounds. That is my full card prediction for UFC 274. Oliveira versus Gaethje. I got Oliveira winning. I got Namajunas winning. I got Chandler winning. I got Ovince Preux winning. I got Donald Cerrone winning. I got Randy Brown winning. I got Norma Dumont, Brandon Royval, Blagoy Ivanov, Francisco Trinaldo, Tracy Cortez, Kleydson Rodrigues, Lupita Godinez, and Fernie Garcia, as well as Andre Fialho. Now, we're going to do our confident picks now, but thank you guys for watching this full card prediction. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you guys subscribe, and if you want to see every single one of the bets I will be making, prop bets, parlays, money line bets, underdog bets, whatever bets that I will be making for UFC 274 and literally every other card with PFL, with Bellator and things like that. If you do want to become a channel member, you definitely can. If you are on your computer like this, you can press the join button right there. For $2.99, all of my PFL, Bellator, and PFL bets. If you're not on a computer, you can go on to just a regular video of mine or just watch whatever ad is on there. Wait the 5 seconds and then go to the last 10 seconds of that video right here and click the profile picture, the Burt MMA logo on the left hand side of the screen. It'll bring you to the same exact page right there. So if you want to become a channel member to see all of my best UFC, PFL, and Bellator bets, click that link right there and become a channel member. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Let's go.